talking boss.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to our Holding Difficult Conversations 10-week course. We're at week 8. Where's the time? Where's the time gone? Almost in spring. Anyway, today's session is about positions and needs, and more particularly positions and unmet needs. This is really useful and important because quite often in conflict, people tell us their positions. And if we argue back to their positions, we just get in an argument. So there's something very useful about finding a way of uncovering people's unmet needs, which relate to their positions, and talking about it. So, it seems a very useful thing to do at that time. So what we're going to do is just to talk through some of this, what we mean by positions, what we mean by needs, and what we mean by, well, what I call respectful inquiry into these needs. So there we go. So what we're going to look at, we're going to do a little bit of an introduction about what we mean by positions and needs. Then we can talk about positions in particular, give some examples, and then we're going to look at unmet needs and how there might be a relationship between what people say when they're in conflict and what unmet need might be going on, with the belief that it's more useful to talk to the unmet needs than the positions. Something about respectful inquiry is kind of important. I'll talk more about that. And then there's a sort of very brief reflective task at the end of today's session. So, okay, we're all ready. Let's get going. It's important, positions and needs. Just, we generally say that we have to take people at face value. We shouldn't try to evaluate or second guess what's going on for them. I have to say this is an exception. This is a bit of a paradox because what we're going to be thinking about today is to do some wondering and respectfully asking about what's going on. People who are having a difficult time, difficult conversations, are stressed. They have all sorts of feelings, so they start using these feelings to tell us, what they think's going on. And what often happens, there's an example I'm going to give in a minute. You never listen to me. Here's one. You never listen to me. And the response at face value is, yes, I do listen to you. No, you don't. Yes, I do. I listened to you yesterday. We were talking about what we wanted for dinner. I was listening to you then. You don't listen to me about anything important. Yes, I do. I always try to listen to you. No, you don't. You get the idea. It's not really a discussion. It's a sort of contradiction. And sometimes it can be useful to sort of think, wow, what unmet needs lie beyond that position of you don't listen to me. And I guess you could sort of say, well, I wonder if it's because he or she really doesn't feel listened to, and so a question might be, and we'll cover this in more depth. A kind of respectful inquiry stroke guess might be, I'm just wondering, gosh, it sounds like you really don't feel listened to. That's right, I don't feel listened to. Okay. Well, and the conversation goes on from there, rather than yes, I do, no, you don't. Okay. That's the sort of principle we'll be looking at in this sort of session. One of the fundamentals of mediation really is that we don't talk people out of their position by talking directly to it. We just sort of somehow confirm it, really. I think of it as being like a conversation over here, which is a yes-no conversation, and then there's other possible conversations in different spaces, that if we can make a respectful guess at what people really need, then we might have a conversation there. We'll be looking at some examples in the next slide. So here we go. I think I've already talked, positions. People say, you never listen to me. A support staff are always last in line to be asked. Don't worry, I'm used to feeling like the poor relation. Kind of things that people say. They're sort of positions. We argue back to them. We say, yes, we always ask. We have a staff survey. That's why we ask support staff what they want. And they go, well, the staff survey isn't designed correctly. Oh, we involved you in the design. You can see there's a back and forth. What happens with positions is that people work themselves up. They get cross, they have experiences, they have feelings, and they want to enter into the discussion with you with a bit of a bash. They really wielding quite a big stick here. It's not very subtle, but quite often it's what happens when people feel upset. They go into the difficult conversation. If these people were skilled, are more skilled at having difficult conversations. They might have come to you with a request to say, now, what we're looking forward, I know you've got plans for the organisation. We, as the support staff, whether or not that HR department, administrative department, the marketing department, we would like to be involved in this kind of way. That's the sort of skilled conversation people would have. But often people don't feel able to do that. They just cross. So they say, we're always lost in line. I'm used to feeling like the poor relation, etc., etc. People are feeling cross. And, and if we start just arguing back to it, it just doesn't get us anywhere. So positions happen when people are cross, when they want to make a statement. It's almost like a courtroom thing. They really want to make a splash. And it seems very, very common in our society to do that. So I think what I'm suggesting is that let's go a bit beyond those positions and see whether or not we can get into to find out more about the unmet need, which has led to the feelings, which has led to the positions. So I don't know if what comes through is the feelings or the thoughts, different for different people. But let's see if we can do that. Let's notice when what we get in somebody is their position. And what I have somebody saying to me, I want the most well-qualified mediator. And I wonder if you are that person. And I could have started talking about my qualifications or my experience. And in fact, I think I did, and I think she repeated that statement. So I said, well, it sounds like you really want to feel confident that you are going to be well dealt with in this process. And she said, that's absolutely right. And I said, well, what would you tell you that you were being professionally dealt with in this mediation? And she told me, about confidentiality. It's about me being equitable with both parties. It was absolutely fine. But the first statement was, I want to make sure that people are properly and fully qualified, the best qualified people. I'm not sure if you're that person. So I could have got my back up and said, oh, well, I'm that person, But actually, I could say, oh, okay, well, I understand that you want to be dealt with by somebody who's skilled and professional. That seems reasonable. If I go to the doctors, I want that. If I go on a bus, I want that. Seems absolutely reasonable. And I think sometimes that's the nature of the unmet need rather than position. Position seems unreasonable. Unmet needs often seem quite reasonable, and we can meet that. And in that situation, I could meet it, which was great. That was really, really great. So there we are. Those are the kind of things and positions. Look out for those. Think about what you might say yourself, what other people have said to you. What's going on here in terms of unmet needs? Positions are often expressions of unmet needs. That's what's going on, really. People's needs aren't met. And there may be lots of situations where finding out about their unmet need will be useful. And talking to that unmet need just equals a better outcome. I'm just thinking, another example, I put this example in the article I wrote. I was on holiday with my family and my son, who was 16 at the time. And it's not a group holiday, there was lots of other people there, and there was a man there on his own, I guess in his 50s, and he let us know that he had a son the same age as my son. And we were out one night, and he was having an argument with my son about whether or not computer games were a good or a bad thing. My son loves computer games, likes designing them, and this man was saying, they're rubbish, ruin people's lives, they stop children being out there, it's absolute rubbish. And my son was sort of arguing back, saying, well, it's not rubbish, it's highly creative, the games I like have lots of narrative, it's very challenging for the brain, and he's gone, absolutely rubbish. And actually what was happening is he had a position which was computer games rubbish. My son was arguing back to that belief, because he felt that computer games were a very useful form of media, important part of the culture, particularly for young people. And I was sort of partially observing this and feeling, I must say, feeling angry with this man. Because I thought, well, he's in his 50s, my son's 60, and he's being quite forceful. I wouldn't go as far as to say rude. I didn't really like it. And then I thought, what might be the unmet need behind this man's position? Computer games are rubbish. And it sort of came to me that he might be worried about his son. And I said to him, I just wonder, to hear you talk, I said, I was wondering, are you worried about your son? He said, yeah, I'm worried about him. He spends too much time indoors. I don't see him as much as I'd like to see him. He was separated from the parent and the mother of the boy, and the boy lived with the mother. And all his positions, all his anger, all his expression was down to the fact that he was worried about his son. And then my son got it straight away, and we started to listen to him saying about how he worried about his son. And that was a much more profitable conversation for everybody than having an argument about whether or not computer games were crap. So what I hope you kind of noticed was that I inquired respectfully about what might be going on for that person, for that man. I kind of dressed it up to hear you talk. I'm wondering if, I wonder if you're a little bit worried about your son. I mean, I'm couching that. I'm willing to hear him say, no, it's not that. I'm asking respectful question. Now, I think what happens sometimes in these situations, you might find yourself going, I know what's wrong with you. Now, I've got to say, people generally hate being told what's wrong with them, unless it's by a doctor. But, I know what's wrong with you. I sussed you out, mate. Is kind of a really unhelpful thing to do in such circumstances. So any sense that you're telling people what's wrong with them needs to be avoided. And I suppose another feature is of sort of genuinely inquiring about what's going on. So that we have to be genuinely interested in what might be the unmet need there. And give people wiggle room to say, well, no, it's not that, it's this. If you're in the ballpark, they'll recognise that you're trying. And, let's go back to one of the examples earlier. Somebody saying, that's okay, I'm used to feeling the poor relation. You say, oh, gosh, when I hear you say that, I wonder if you're just feeling a bit left out or overlooked. Or they might say, yes, that's exactly it. Or they might say, no, not so much that. More kind of, nobody consults us. So you feel that people don't consult you. Oh, okay. Well, let me think about that. I mean, what could we do? What could we do more of? I think it gets us into a different sphere. Do you remember this business about this is the yes/no discussion? I feel like a poor relation. We treat you very well. You shouldn't feel that way, but I do feel that way. Well, you shouldn't because we work really hard. We do all we can. It's that sort of conversation. To another one that says, "Oh, it sounds like you're feeling a bit, I don't know, left out." And I think that's genuine. People kind of spot that it's genuine, and they can help move the conversation on. And that involves an awful lot of listening, of course. Of course, the thing is about this is that it might not be right at all, and we can't guarantee that any of these things work, can we? We just try our best to help. And I think what thinking about unmet needs and not positions can do is just help us to get into a better sphere of conversation. So there we are. So that's respectful inquiries. We've looked at positions, and just watch out for positions in what you say yourself, and consider when you hear a position what the unmet need might be beyond that position, and then consider what you might ask, how you might inquire into somebody's experience. And that's really the reflective task. It's quite simple this week. Think back, or maybe recent, long time ago, maybe something happens tomorrow. Difficult conversation, and identify the positions that people are using or using, and consider what unmet need lay behind these positions. So you might want to start to construct a question, a respectful inquiry into what might lay beyond, neatly sidestepping this yes you will, no I won't, yes you have, no I haven't, yes I have, no I haven't type of conversation. How we might just sidestep that and ask about the unmet needs. There's a reflective task. I hope these tasks are good for you, everybody. As usual, questions or comments, do give us a shout on that numbers. Thanks for everybody who has got in touch so far. Have a good rest of the week. Bye.